Okay, family. We get paid to read these books. It's October. Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins. Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds. Let's get into it. Formal education to pay you a living. The self-education to pay you a fortune. This is how we self-educate right here. I don't know how much this book costs, but it's a whole lot less than an MBA or a PhD or any other. And I'm not, if you got out, I'm not saying don't get an MBA or go to college. I went, I enjoyed it, I would, and I love it. Love my school. I'm just saying self-education to pay your fortune. All right, anyway, let's get into it. So, David Goggins had a traumatic. I can't even imagine just having to live through that much trauma at like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. That is crazy. He ends up leaving the traumatic experience with his mother, took him and his brother away from that abusive situation with his dad and moved to Brazil, Indiana from Buffalo, New York. So they moved from the city out in the country where she was from with her parents. So he's behind in school and all this stuff when he first gets there. So, but he had a good teacher his first year. She was patient, helping him. His second year, teacher wasn't as patient. She was like, get good, or be gone. So he's like in struggle mode trying to catch up. She's trying to get him out of her class. She's like, you need to go to the special school. She sends him to a psychologist. So this is where I'm picking up on page 40. The psychologist's office was adjacent to a hospital, which was exactly where you want to put it if you were trying to make a little kid doubt himself. It was like a bad movie. The shrink set up 7 chairs in a semicircle around him, but some of the kids wouldn't or couldn't sit still. One child wore a helmet and banged his head against the wall repeatedly. Another kid stood up while the doctor was mid-sentence, walked toward the far corner of the room, and pissed in the trash can. The kid sitting next to me was the most normal person in the group, and he had set his own house on fire. I can remember staring up at the shrink on my first day thinking, there's no way I belong here. Teammates, listen. He looked around, said, this right here is not my tribe. When I finished college, I got a degree in biology. Actually, before I finished my senior year, I got a job at a chemical company in their lab. And the lab was attached to the plant. The plant made this polymer that we had to test. But so it was only a handful of us in the lab, but it was hundreds of guys in the plant. So on breaks, we would all walk out to the gravel parking lot and eat food off the little aluminum food truck and all this kind of stuff. So so I'm 22 years old, finishing college. I'm thinking about we gonna take over the world, and now I got this job. We working and eating food off the food truck in a gravel parking lot, talking to all these plant guys that ain't talking about nothing positive and going nowhere fast. Like, it wasn't a bad job if you wanted one. If you just wanted to show up and because it wasn't hard about, nothing was hard about what I was doing. But when I looked around, I was like, this is not where I belong. So, in the same time, I ended up getting introduced to the financial services industry. Met my coach, started working with him. He was extremely successful. He was making $50,000 a month 30 years ago. And so on my days off from the plant, or from the lab, I was working with him. We would go to lunch. We would go to the nice side of town in Greensboro. We would go to Green Valley. We're having lunch at Lucky 32. Lucky 32 is owned by the group that owns the nicest hotels and restaurants in Greensboro. I think they own at least 3 restaurants and a couple of hotels in the city. The nicest places. Now I'm in Lucky 32, white tablecloths, service. And I ain't even been in nice restaurants before. So here I am. I'm in the daggum gravel parking lot in the food truck with the plant guys talking all kinds of nonsense. And then the other days, I'm with my coach at Lucky 32. I start looking around. Teammates like, this right here, this is my tribe. Teammates, I don't know where you are or where you headed to, where you working at every day, the type of the circle of people you're around, but you need to start looking around and you need to decide, is that where you belong? For me, it didn't take me long. Some people just take them so long to figure out. Oh my God, it'd be years before it didn't take me that long. Thank God it didn't. So look around. So the insight is look around and figure out where you belong. All right, now let's keep going. So now check this out. Now his mama, she didn't make the best decisions a lot of times because, she just didn't make the best decision. But she did make some clutch decisions. One of them was when she left Buffalo, New York, and went back, moved away from her husband. He wasn't even her husband. It was her baby daddy back with her parents in Indiana. So that was the right decision. But listen to this. My sophomore year, then they moved from Brazil, Indiana to the city, Indianapolis. And that ended up being a disaster. So now, David, he's in a sophomore. So listen to this. My sophomore year was all about being cool. I switched up my wardrobe, which was increasingly influenced by hip-hop culture, and hung out with gangbangers and other borderline delinquents, which meant I didn't always go to school. Listen to this. One day my mom came home in the middle of the day and found me sitting around our dining room table with what she described as 10 thugs. And she wasn't wrong. Within a few weeks, she packed us up and moved us back to Brazil, Indiana. Listen, David's mama might not have been as daggum sharp as life in the jaw, but she was looking out for her kids. She was looking out for David. Because if you in the wrong environment with the wrong people, now we reading about him now, and it was traumatic, but at least we still reading about him. Because you know how it works, inner city, a bunch of crime and craziness, everybody get killed. Everybody either killed or in jail or something crazy. But David mama, she walked in the house, saw them like, pack your stuff up and we out of here. A few weeks later. Hats off to David's mama. Good gracious. And the insight is, you can't outwork a bad environment. Because the environment is going to influence you more than you influence it. You got to remove yourself and plug into a different environment. All right? Teammates, I'm preaching better than y'all saying amen. Now he's back in this little country town in Indiana. I only been to Indiana a couple of times. I've been to Indianapolis to a convention, but after reading this, I ain't lost nothing in Indiana. Good gracious, what are these people doing out here? So listen to this. So he gets back to the town. He likes playing basketball. He says, my only saving grace that week was getting back with Johnny Nichols. We stayed close while I was away, and our marathon one-on-one battles were back in full swing. He's talking about basketball. Though he was undersized, he was always a nice player, and he was one of the best on the floor during trials. He was draining shots, seeing an open man, and running the court. It was no surprise when he made the varsity squad, but we were both shocked that I barely made JV. Teammates, David had went to Indianapolis, to the city, and I guess hadn't been working on his game. But my point is, get at least one daggum foxhole, buddy. One positive influence in your life can change everything. All right, teammates, I love you guys. We get paid to read these books. I'm reading this book for me now. I promise you I am. I'm sharing the experience with you. And hopefully you're going to get something out of it. I believe you will. Love you guys. We'll run this play again tomorrow.